Hey guys, welcome to Brian's Man Cave. Well, today I want to talk about the movie I just saw, Beetlejuice, or Beetlejuice Part 2, I guess you want to call it. But first, before I get into that strange thing today, I came home in the afternoon, had a shower, after we watched the movie, had a shower, freshened up, put on my Darth Vader t-shirt. I just decided, hey, let's put that one on. And I went on social media, Facebook, whatever, and I saw that James Earl Jones passed away. And that was really sad. I'm like, oh, I mean, it's sad in a sense that we lost him. And, he was 93 years old. So he lived a long, good life. But then I got up and I started walking by the mirror and I was like, wow, I picked this shirt on the day that Darth Vader passed away. Strange. Anyways, aside from that, let's talk about Beetlejuice. Now, I can't say that this video is not gonna have spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, maybe come back to this video, because I'll probably talk a lot about it and some of the stuff that happened in there. Now, on the vein of Ghostbusters, because I drew a bunch of comparisons. I don't know why. Maybe because, they're both 80s movies that kind of came back. And how they did it. And the way they did it. But, yeah. So, first of all, Tim Burton being the director. Big, number one, good reason. Good thing for this movie. Not some new director coming in, trying to do their own spin on it, trying to throw whatever, modern crap in there. It's the original director, which is perfect. And I'm sure he dealt with the script and he wanted to make sure everything was perfect before getting this thing going on the road. And the same thing with Ghostbusters. When they brought back, and I'm not talking about the girl Ghostbusters, I'm talking about the Ghostbusters Afterlife, having, I believe Ivan Reitman was involved in that first one, the Afterlife one. But it was mainly his son. So, still in the family kind of thing, keeping it real. So, right there, right on target. 2 was having, obviously, Michael Keaton reprise the role, and Winona Ryder, and Catherine O'Hara, and of course, the father couldn't be, the actor couldn't be in the movie. From what I've understood, there was some criminal charges, some assault with a minor or sexual assault. I don't know. I didn't dive too deep into it, but that dude is got problems and they couldn't put him in the movie. But they did a really good job on dealing with his character. And that was the thing that I was kind of wondering when I found out they were making a sequel and I knew he wasn't going to be in it. I'm like, how are they going to deal with him being dead and not being able to show up in the movie? I mean, the whole movie is, or the concept in the movie is that there's an afterlife. So if you die in the real world, you come back to the afterlife. And so how are they going to get rid of him? How are they going to... So it's really kind of brilliant what they did. I mean, they pretty much had him eaten by a shark. They ate the whole, from here up. So in the afterlife, he shows up without his head, and there is, they do a weird cartoony thing, which I thought was odd. I guess it made some sense. They wanted to show dramatization of the plane going down, and they did a weird cartoony thing, and they kind of gave his image in there, and of course they showed his image on the tombstone. So the actor's name is not coming to my head right now. But he was in a bunch of 80s stuff. He was in Howard the Duck, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So I wonder if they had to pay him royalties and all this stuff just to show his image, even though he technically wasn't in it. Plus, they had to have an actor kind of fill in as him, but missing the top of his head. But yeah, so they did a really good job explaining that, and I was really happy to see that. The Maitlands obviously were not in it. They're not supposed to be in it. Tim Burton didn't want to put them in there. A few challenges. First off, I mean, the obvious one is that Gina Davis and what's his Alec Baldwin, are now old. They're 60s, in the late 60s, just like Michael Keaton. But with Michael Keaton, he had all the makeup to cover that all up, whereas they would have had to look normal. And of course, we could de-age them with AI and all that stuff. But I think Tim Burton didn't want to just reprise that concept. He wanted to move on with the story. He wanted to let's go past them. Let's do something else. And so they just literally just wrote them out of the story. Like, hey, we found a loophole. They moved on. I mean, they do talk about this soul train. I wonder if that has something to do with it. Maybe they got on that soul train and they drove off and went into some other area where they don't need to exist. Like, because in the whole Beetlejuice concept, that the death thing is that you end up being trapped in wherever. I don't know. It's weird because it's not exactly where you die, because the Maitlands died on the bridge. They didn't die in their home, but somehow they ended up stuck in their home. So it has something to do with your home. In this movie, there's the boy that Jenna Ortega falls in love with, or kind of, starts to grow a relationship with, and he's stuck in his home. He's stuck within the perimeters of his home, and so is his parents. So they kind of play off of that. But then there's this, like, I guess, neither world that we kind of learn about in the cartoon, which is that kind of middle ground where people can exist outside of their natural place. And then there's this soul train that somehow moves them on. I don't know. I think some of that kind of got lost in translation. Maybe I didn't pay attention enough. Maybe I missed something. Or maybe they edited something out that didn't, because sometimes that happens, right? They edit a movie, they take out a part, and then something doesn't make sense anymore. They brought in Beetlejuice's bride, which I felt that they kind of rushed that character along. It was integral to the part, because they do a little backstory on Beetlejuice, which I thought was cool. You got to see Beetlejuice before he was dead. You saw him as a human. He was living in like the 1700s or something like that. He was, during the bubonic plague time or whatever, where they're throwing people in the mass graves, and he was just like a grave robber. He was stealing crap out of the people's pockets and stuff, and then somehow he was marrying this soul sucker cult lady who intended to kill him, and then they killed each other. Hence, they're in the afterworld. Which was cool. I liked that. I thought that was neat. It was neat seeing Beetlejuice as a human, something we always kind of imagined what he would look like. Even though there's memes that circulate around showing Pete Davidson going, this is what Beetlejuice would have looked like, it was just cool seeing him as, his human self. There was, some, like, actually, going back to her, I felt they rushed her a little bit. They kind of brought her in. She stapled herself together. She walked through the hallways, sucked a bunch of souls, killed Danny DeVito, killed the dry cleaner. Killed him. Killed a few. She killed Bob. If you saw the movie, you know who Bob is. Killed Bob. And then you had all this kind of drama going around with William Dafoe's character, which was a little strange. These police officers, they had guns. I'm like, what are they going to do with the guns? You can't just shoot the dead people. What are they going to do? But maybe that's just part of the joke. Maybe they thought they could still do something with their weapons. But anyways, yeah. So they go on this whole thing of let's try. But then the bride, Dolores, I believe her name was, just gets to a point where they're back into the church. Beetlejuice is trying to get Lydia to marry him again. They kind of repurpose that. And then she shows up, and then it's kind of the same ending for her as it was for Beetlejuice in the first movie, where a sandworm just comes and eats her. And the guy that Lydia was going to marry. So we learned from the first movie that the sandworm is not effective in killing people because Beetlejuice came back. So it is strange. I mean, maybe they're leaving it for the third movie. Maybe they want her character to go on and do a third movie, because, frankly, they called it Beetlejuice. They have to have a third movie called Beetlejuice. But if they're going to do that, they're going to have to move on fast, because Michael Keaton, getting on in age, whether they're going to bring back Catherine O'Hara, because, they kind of set that character aside and said, okay, she died. Delia Dietz died. She reunited with her dead husband, and they went into the beyond. Almost making it sound like they're just done away with them. Like they're gone. They're gone like the Maitlands. They're out of the storyline, which leaves it down to Jenna Ortega and what's her name? Astrid, and Lydia being the only two left. Everybody else is gone. So I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do for Beetlejuice 3 if it happens. But I'm thinking if they want it to happen, they better get going on it because, we still have Tim Burton alive. We still have Michael Keaton alive. We want to make sure we get those people doing this again. We don't want a new director. We definitely don't want another actor trying to portray Beetlejuice. That would be a huge mistake. It just won't work. So yeah, and I think it would be fine. I think it would be fine if they could do a third movie. If they could figure out a story, a plot, whatever. Frankly, I thought a better angle might have been because Jenna Ortega's father in the movie, what's her face? Lydia's husband, he died, and she wants to see her father again. And so she kind of finds him really just randomly. And it felt like shoehorned in, like, oh, she's just running by and she's like, oh, there's my father. I think that was kind of a mistake. I think that whole thing could have been removed. I think they could have just said, the boy that was fooling her was saying, I'm going to take you to see your father. But then, it never happens. And that could have been a good plot for the third movie. They could have her daughter, Lydia's daughter, trying to find her father in the third movie. Do a whole new thing there. Remove the Dietzes, not Dietz, but her parents, and, forget about the Maitlands, and forget about all the other characters. Now we could start a whole new thing. I think that's where they could have gone, but they didn't. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where if a third movie comes. I mean, we don't know. We don't know. They could make a third movie. They could not. Lots of things can happen. Whatever. But anyways, yeah, I just wanted to throw those ideas while they were still swimming around in my brain. I liked the movie. I thought it was fun. It was interesting. It was entertaining. There was no boring parts. Few things in there I probably wouldn't have done, but overall, great movie, worth seeing. I'm sure if you've watched it this far, if you watched my video this far, you've probably seen it, or else I just spoiled the whole friggin' movie for you, and I'm sorry. But anyways, let me know what you think. Throw some comments down below. Hope you subscribe. Talk to you later.